So, there's this guy in the UK. His approach to being a bodyguard has absolutely blown up online. We're talking about Fred CPO, and he's probably the most famous security guy in the country right now, all because his methods are, well, they're direct. Okay, let's get into it.
And that's coming straight from him. I mean, he's not mincing words, right? No fancy corporate speak, no sugarcoating it. It's a statement that just perfectly sums up the kind of raw, unfiltered action that's made him go viral. But trust me, there's a lot more going on here than just random street fights.
So that's really the big question here, isn't it? Who is this guy, and why is the internet so obsessed with the way he protects people? We're going to peel back the layers on this, go beyond the shocking clips, and really try to understand the man, his story, and the philosophy that makes him tick.
Okay, so before we get into the why he does what he does, we gotta look at the what. Fred CPO's main gig, the one that made him famous, is being the personal bodyguard for a pretty controversial online figure named Charlie Vish. And this isn't your typical celebrity bodyguard job. This is constant, high-alert work right on the street.
And you really have to get the context here to understand his actions. His client, Charlie Vish, literally can't just stand in one spot for a few minutes, especially somewhere like Manchester without a big crowd forming. And yeah, a lot of people are friendly, but the situation is just completely unpredictable and can get hostile fast. So the violence you're seeing in these clips, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's a direct response to a very real, constant threat level.
All right, so let's actually break down his signature move, the kick-slap combo. This isn't just some wild brawl, it's a procedure. It starts with someone approaching who seems hostile. Then, they do something that signals a potential threat, like putting a hand in their pocket. The response is swift, a kick, usually right to the liver. The whole point is to shut the situation down immediately by basically taking away their ability and their will to fight.
And there's some really fascinating psychology behind this. You know, you punch someone in the face, you might just make them angrier. But a kick to an organ, according to Fred, that's a feeling most people have never, ever experienced. It's like their body has been hijacked. It completely demoralizes them and just sucks all the fight right out of them. It's a total system shock.
So you have to ask, right? Where does this calmness, this almost surgical response to violence come from? Well, that's where his personal history comes in. And let me tell you, it's a past that has made him totally desensitized to stress and confrontation.
I mean, look at this. His entire life has been just a series of unprovoked attacks. It started when he was just a kid, getting hit at bus stops because he had long hair. Then, as a teenager, he got jumped by a whole group. For him, dealing with violence has just been a constant part of his life. To hear him tell it, it's just normal, something he's completely used to.
But the absolute peak of all this violence came in his 20s. He was actually kidnapped at gunpoint. A group was trying to find a friend of his, and they tortured him to get information. They stabbed him 4 times. This was way beyond a street fight. This was a truly terrifying life-or-death situation.
And this quote, man, it tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. It's extraordinary. He says that his past experiences, including some really intense ones with hallucinogens, basically built up his immunity to stress. The idea is that he's already faced the worst possible things inside his own head, so when someone is physically threatening him, it just doesn't hit the same way it would for anyone else.
So all of this entire history, it's forged a really specific philosophy. It's not about being a violent person. It's about understanding that to be a genuinely good and peaceful person, you first have to have the capacity for force.
He really boils the world down to a pretty simple binary when you think about it. For him, you're either capable of violence, which gives you the choice not to be violent, or you're incapable of it, which in his view just means you're weak. True strength isn't about being peaceful, it's about having the power to be violent, but choosing peace.
So what's his advice for the rest of us? You know, for people who are afraid of conflict? He sees it like this. Learning martial arts isn't about becoming a fighter. It's a basic life skill. It's like teaching a kid how to swim so they don't drown. In a world where some people are willing to hurt you, knowing how to defend yourself is just fundamental safety.
Now, these personal beliefs, they don't just stay personal. They expand out into how he sees the entire country, his observations on the UK, and really the West as a whole. So from where he's standing, he sees a society where men have been, well, emasculated and deflated, in his words. He thinks society has become atomized, we're all just isolated individuals cut off from community. He even makes this really stark comparison to Yugoslavia, warning that if you push a bunch of different groups together, it can all fall apart when things get tough. He feels like it's an intentional decline, that as a society we've decided to fall down the stairs on purpose.
But here's the thing, he's not just pointing out problems, he actually has a solution,
or at least an ideal that he thinks modern men should aim for. He calls it the cultured thug.
So, the cultured thug, what on earth does that actually mean? Well, it's about fusing the mind and the fist. It's his call to action for men to be both scholars and warriors, to actually learn about their culture, their history, their philosophy, but at the same time to build up their physical strength and their courage.
And his advice for getting there is basically this two-part prescription for becoming a more balanced person. If you're more on the intellectual side, a nerd, as he puts it, you need to get in the gym and work on your physical courage. And if you're more of a physical guy, a geezer, you need to pick up a book and educate yourself. It's all about closing that gap between thinking and doing.
And it all comes back to this Bruce Lee quote he loves to use, which just sums up his entire worldview. Knowing is not enough, you've got to apply. All the knowledge in the world doesn't mean a thing if you can't or won't act on it.
And that really leaves us with the big question that his whole philosophy is built around. He's quoting an old idea here. If a society separates its thinkers from its fighters, you end up with cowards making the decisions and fools doing the fighting. His answer is the cultured thug. So the final question is, for our world today, what is the right balance between the mind and the fist?